Best gas chainsaws in 2026. Yeah, they're still king if you actually want to get real work done. Forget what everyone says about batteries. The best gas chainsaws still start reliably, cut through wood without whining, and survive more than a single weekend. In this video, we're counting down the 5 best gas chainsaws you can buy in 2026, machines that actually deliver when it matters. From lightweight backyard saws to full-on powerhouses, these are the best gas chainsaws for real people who need a tool that doesn't quit. Stick around because by the end, you'll see why these aren't just hype. They're the best gas chainsaws in 2026, and why your neighbor's electric toy just can't compete. At number 5, the Husqvarna 435 16-inch gas chainsaw. And no, it's not one of those terrifying, overbuilt backyard beasts that looks like it wants to ruin your weekend. This thing is light, just under 10 pounds, so you're not fighting the saw before you even get to the tree. Your arms will still work afterward. That's a win. It runs a 40cc 2.2 HP X-Torque engine, which on paper sounds modest until you actually cut something. For a 16-inch bar, it's got more bite than you'd expect. And yes, it's gas, so you get that classic vroom sound that makes you feel capable, even if you're just cleaning up a fallen branch and not harvesting timber. Starting it is almost suspiciously painless. Smart Start plus the air purge means a couple pulls and it's alive. No ritual, no embarrassment. Your neighbors won't quietly judge you from across the fence. There's also an inertia-activated chain brake, which is a fancy way of saying if something goes sideways, the chain stops faster than your motivation to finish yard work. One feature that sounds like marketing fluff but actually matters, the air injection system. Translation, less dust getting into the engine so it runs cleaner and you're not constantly babying it. Pair that with low vibe and your hands don't feel like they've been through a small earthquake after an hour of cutting. It's also just nice to handle. The flip-up fuel cap is one of those tiny details you don't appreciate until you don't have it. Refueling is quick, painless, and doesn't involve swearing. You can also run bars from 13 to 18 inches, which gives it some flexibility instead of locking you into one setup forever. Now, reality check. If you're planning to chew through massive oak logs all day or pretend you're on a professional logging crew, this isn't that saw. It'll feel underpowered fast. But for homeowners, weekend warriors, and people who just want to cut stuff without destroying their back, it makes a lot of sense. Bottom line, the Husqvarna 435 is basically chainsaw easy mode. Light, reliable, surprisingly capable, and almost fun to use. Just don't expect a trophy from the Lumberjack Olympics. At number 4, the VEVOR 52cc 18-inch gas chainsaw. And no, this is not some cute little homeowner toy. This thing shows up weighing about 15 pounds and immediately lets you know it's here to work, not make friends. It's heavier, sure, but that weight is doing real work, not just existing to annoy your arms. You're getting a 52cc 2-stroke pushing around 2.55 horsepower, spinning the chain up to 12,000 RPM. Translation, when you drop it into a log, it doesn't politely ask permission. It goes straight through like it's mad at the tree for existing. The 18-inch steel bar feels solid and stable, and while sawdust still goes everywhere, because physics, the longer bar actually keeps things a bit more controlled. You're less likely to end up looking like you rolled in a woodpile afterward. With close to a 17-inch cutting capacity, it's comfortable with branches, small trees, and overgrown chaos you've been ignoring all year. Handling is honest. There's a shock absorber system that does reduce vibration, which is nice, but let's not pretend this is some spa-day chainsaw. Run it for a few hours and you'll feel it. The difference is your hands won't be completely numb halfway through the job, which is about as good as it gets in this price range. Fuel capacity is decent, 0.58 quarts for gas and 0.27 quarts for chain oil, meaning fewer refill breaks and more actual cutting. Always appreciated when you're already sweaty and questioning your life choices. The fuel tank is wrapped in a tougher shell too, so it can take a knock without turning your yard into a gasoline crime scene. Startup is standard gas saw behavior. Pull the cord and it usually fires up without drama. And if it doesn't, VEVOR's customer service actually answers, which honestly might be the most surprising feature here. Let's be clear, this is not a Husqvarna. It's louder, rougher around the edges, and vibration is still very much a thing. But if you want real cutting power without paying premium brand prices, this thing delivers. It's blunt, noisy, and effective, kinda like a chainsaw should be. Bottom line, the VEVOR 52cc is built for weekend warriors, property owners, and anyone clearing trees or brush who wants muscle over manners. It won't baby you, it won't whisper, but it will cut, and sometimes that's all you actually need. And number 3, we have the HUYOSEN 5518H 20-inch gas chainsaw, and this is where things start getting interesting. On paper, this thing looks like it wants to punch way above its price class. You're getting a 54.6cc two-stroke engine rated at around 3 horsepower, spinning a full 20-inch bar at up to 9,000 RPM, with idle speeds climbing to 13,000 RPM. Translation, this is not a polite little trimming saw. This one shows up expecting to cut firewood, drop medium trees, and not apologize about it. Now let's talk about weight, because this matters in the real world. At 17 pounds, you're absolutely going to feel it. This is not the chainsaw you casually wave around for 5 minutes between coffee breaks. But that weight also brings stability. When you bury that 20-inch bar into thicker wood, the saw stays planted instead of bouncing around like lighter homeowner models. For firewood cutting and tree felling, that confidence actually counts. The engine itself is the star here. The power delivery is steady, not jerky, and it doesn't stall easily once you're in the cut. The CDI electronic ignition helps keep things smooth, and the easy pull start is genuinely decent. No drama, no 10-pull workout before it wakes up. You pull, it starts, you get to work. That alone puts it ahead of a lot of budget gas chainsaws. Safety-wise, HUYOSEN didn't skip the basics. You get a quick-stop chain brake, a low-kickback chain, and a safety switch to prevent accidental starts. None of this is exciting, but all of it is necessary, especially on a saw with this much power. The automatic oiler does its job consistently, keeping the bar and chain lubricated so you're not cooking the chain halfway through a cut. Ergonomics are better than expected. The shock-absorbing, non-slip handle helps tame some of that vibration, and while it's still a heavy saw, the balance is decent enough that it doesn't feel like it's constantly trying to twist out of your hands. After a long session, you'll be tired, but you won't feel abused. Now let's be real about the downsides. The fit and finish isn't premium. This isn't a Husqvarna or Echo in terms of refinement. It's louder, rougher, and the vibration is noticeable once the novelty wears off. And with only a handful of reviews, you're definitely taking a bit of a leap of faith on long-term durability. But here's the thing. If you want a best gas chainsaw with a true 20-inch bar, true cutting power, and no-nonsense performance for firewood, tree cutting, land clearing, or farm work, this one delivers more than you'd expect. It's overkill for small yards, but for people who actually cut wood regularly, it makes sense. So yeah, the HUYOSEN 5518H is the chainsaw equivalent of a big, loud work boot. Not pretty, not refined, but when it's time to get serious, it shows up and does the job. At number 2, we have the Getell G332 PRO 58cc gas chainsaw, and this one is clearly trying to play in the big leagues. The headline feature here is the 58cc professional-grade engine, and yes, you feel it immediately. This saw has real torque, the kind that doesn't bog down when you hit dense hardwood or a thick knot halfway through a cut. With chain speeds around 9,000 RPM, it doesn't scream just to sound tough. It actually moves wood fast. What makes this one stand out in a practical, real-world way is the quick-switch dual bar system. You get both 18-inch and 20-inch bars, and swapping between them is genuinely straightforward. The 18-inch setup is great when you're doing tighter work, trimming, limbing, or cutting firewood without overreaching. Flip to the 20-inch bar, and now you're in full tree felling mode. It saves time, saves space in your shed, and honestly makes this feel like 2 chainsaws in one. Despite the big engine, this saw is listed at around 12 pounds, which is surprisingly manageable for a 58cc class machine. That lighter feel, combined with anti-vibration technology, makes a noticeable difference during longer sessions. You still know you're running a gas chainsaw. This isn't a spa day, but your hands won't go numb after every tank. Starting it up is refreshingly drama-free. The Easy Start system works in cold mornings and warm afternoons, and once it's running, the automatic chain oiler keeps everything smooth without you babysitting the bar. Maintenance is also less annoying than usual. Tool-free access to key points means you're not hunting for wrenches just to tighten something mid-job. Safety and control are handled well. The instant response chain brake kicks in fast, the grip feels secure even with gloves on, and the balance stays predictable when you're deep into a cut. It's clearly designed for people who actually use chainsaws regularly, not just once a year after a storm. So yeah, the Getell G332 PRO is the chainsaw equivalent of a big, loud work boot. Not pretty, not refined, but when it's time to get serious, it shows up and does the job.
All right, at number 1, we have the Husqvarna 460 Rancher. And yeah, this is the part of the list where things stop being cute. This is a real gas chainsaw, not a weekend toy. You're getting a 60.3cc X-Torque 2-cycle engine pushing 3.6 horsepower, and the first time you squeeze the throttle, you immediately understand why this keeps showing up in best gas chainsaw lists year after year. It doesn't rev just to sound tough, it actually pulls hard. Throw a 24-inch bar into a thick log and it doesn't stall, complain, or slow down like smaller saws pretending to be big. What surprised me is the weight, or lack of it. At around 13 pounds, it's lighter than it has any right to be for a chainsaw running a bar this long. Husqvarna's balance game is strong here. The 7-degree offset front handle looks like marketing nonsense until you run it for a while and realize your wrists aren't getting wrecked. Add the low vibe system and suddenly a big saw feels usable for more than 20 minutes. Starting it is refreshingly uneventful. Smart Start actually works. The combined choke stop control keeps you from flooding it like an amateur, and once it's running, it stays running. The inertia-activated chain brake kicks in fast, which is important because this thing has enough power to make mistakes expensive. One feature people overlook is the automatic adjustable oil pump. That's not just a nice extra. Being able to dial in chain oil when you're switching between hardwood, softwood, or dirty ground-level cuts actually matters. Pair that with the air injection centrifugal cleaning system and you're cleaning filters less and cutting more, which is kind of the whole point. Now let's be clear about what this is not. This is not a beginner chainsaw. It's loud, it's aggressive, and it expects you to know what you're doing. If you just trim a few branches twice a year, this is overkill. But if you cut firewood regularly, clear land, drop trees, or want one chainsaw that doesn't need excuses, this is where you land. That's why the Husqvarna 460 Rancher sits at number 1. It's not flashy, it's not cheap, and it doesn't babysit you, but it shows up every time and does the work. In the real world, that's what separates the best gas chainsaw from everything else pretending to be one.